Do not get too comfortable. You never belonged in rooms like this. What he did not realize was she had outgrown him, and her husband was done listening. Stay with us. What starts with pain, loss, and being overlooked slowly transforms into strength they never saw coming. Where in the world are you watching from tonight? Drop your city in the comments. Have you ever rewritten your own story? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Black Stories Untold with love, and ring that notification bell for more heartwarming stories that celebrate strength. Reese Moore enters the room without announcing herself, yet the space shifts the moment she does. Light finds her first, settling on the smooth brown of her skin, tracing the calm confidence in her posture. She moves with an ease that has nothing to do with being seen and everything to do with knowing herself. This is not the kind of elegance learned in mirrors or borrowed from approval. It is earned, built quietly through years of choosing survival over softness, dignity over explanation. She wears success the way some people wear scars. Not hidden, not displayed, simply present. Across the room, Gregory Jones looks up and feels the past tighten around his chest before he understands why. For a split second, his mind reaches backward, searching for the version of Reese he once knew. The woman who laughed smaller. The woman who waited for reassurance before taking up space. The woman whose ambition he admired in theory but feared in practice. He remembers how he used to frame his doubts as concern, his control as protection, his discomfort as honesty. He had loved her brilliance when it reflected well on him. He had flinched when it began to outgrow him. Reese does not see him at first. Or maybe she does and simply does not react. Her gaze moves through the room with intention, greeting faces that recognize her for who she is now. There is no rush in her steps, no tension in her shoulders. She has nothing to prove here. The life she built stands quietly behind her, unseen but undeniable. Gregory studies her with the kind of familiarity that no longer belongs to him. He notices the way she carries herself, taller somehow, as if gravity itself has loosened its grip. He tells himself she looks the same. He tells himself time has not changed her. But something unsettles him. The absence of hesitation. The way she does not scan the room for permission. The way she belongs. Their history hums beneath the surface like a low frequency only they can hear. Late nights filled with plans that always seem to center his comfort. Conversations where her dreams were praised and then quietly redirected. Compliments that came with conditions. Love that required her to shrink just enough to keep him steady. Reese feels the weight of memory brush against her spine and keeps walking. She has learned that the past does not deserve eye contact unless it earns it. Her growth did not come from confrontation, but from distance, from choosing herself when it would have been easier to stay. From learning that strength does not always roar. Sometimes it simply stands. Gregory takes a step forward before thinking. The instinct surprises him. He is used to being the one remembered fondly, the one who left an impression. He expects recognition, gratitude, at the very least, reaction. Reese turns then, her eyes meeting his without warmth or hostility. Just clarity, the kind that leaves no room for illusion. In that moment, Gregory realizes something he is not ready to face. The woman standing before him is not shaped by his memory. She is not waiting to be defined by their past. She has become someone he cannot place in the narrative he once controlled. And somewhere in that quiet understanding, the power he thought he still held begins to slip. What Gregory does not yet see is the man standing just beyond Reese's shoulder, watching, listening, waiting, not to interrupt, but to protect. The room holds its breath. The story has already begun. Reese Moore does not stand alone anymore. The difference is subtle, but unmistakable. It shows in the way she breathes, slower now, deeper, in the way her shoulders rest without tension, as if the world no longer presses so hard against her spine. There is a steadiness to her that did not exist before, a quiet certainty that comes from knowing someone sees you fully and chooses you without conditions. Her husband stands beside her with an ease that suggests intention rather than possession. Gregory notices him only after noticing the space Reese no longer gives away. The man is tall, broad-shouldered, composed. His presence is not loud, not demanding. It is deliberate. He does not scan the room for approval or dominance. He watches. He listens. His eyes move with care, taking in details others miss. The kind of man who understands power does not need to announce itself. This is the love Reese never expected to find, not because she did not believe she deserved it, but because she had grown used to navigating the world alone. She had learned to be her own safety net, to celebrate quietly, to carry both ambition and exhaustion without complaint. Loving him did not erase that strength, it honored it. Gregory feels the shift before he understands it. He senses that Reese no longer orbits old gravity. She does not lean into nostalgia or flinch at familiarity. She stands rooted, connected to something solid and unseen. When she speaks now, her voice does not seek agreement. It offers truth. Her husband does not interrupt or hover. He allows Reese to move freely, trusting her strength, respecting her agency. That trust wraps around her like armor. It is not performative. It is lived in. Gregory watches the way Reese and her husband share glances, not frequent, not showy, just enough. A quiet language passing between them, a raised eyebrow, a slight nod, an understanding formed through shared nights and unspoken promises. Gregory feels something unfamiliar settle in his chest. Not jealousy, exactly. Recognition. He remembers how Reese used to explain herself, how she softened her words so he would not feel challenged, how she adjusted her dreams so they would fit the space he allowed. He remembers thinking that love meant being needed. This love does not need. It stands. Reese feels Gregory's eyes on her and turns only briefly. There is no invitation in her gaze, no lingering, just acknowledgement. The past receives its due and nothing more. She does not introduce her husband right away, not out of avoidance, but because she no longer feels urgency. What is hers does not require presentation. Her husband notices Gregory then. He reads the tension without asking questions. He understands the shape of old wounds, the way they hover even after healing. He does not stiffen or step forward. He simply remains present, grounded, available. This is partnership, not rescue, not display. Presence without pressure. Reese rests her hand lightly against her husband's arm, not for protection, but connection. The gesture is small, but loaded with meaning. Gregory sees it and realizes the truth that unsettles him most. She is not guarded. She is at peace. Whatever power Gregory once believed he held over her story has already dissolved. He just has not caught up yet. And as the room continues to hum with polite conversation and curated laughter, something else grows quietly beneath the surface, a tension that has not yet found its voice, a moment waiting to arrive. Gregory still thinks he knows Reese Moore. He is about to learn how wrong he is. The room tightens the moment Gregory Jones closes the distance. It happens quietly, the way storms form before thunder ever announces itself. Reese feels it before she sees him, a shift in the air that brushes against old memory. She turns, and there he is, close enough to mistake proximity for permission, wearing a smile that once convinced her to doubt her instincts. He speaks as if time has been waiting for him, as if familiarity is a bridge he can cross without invitation. His voice carries the easy confidence of someone who believes history grants access. There is humor in his tone, but it lands wrong, sharpened at the edges, wrapped in the same casual condescension he once called honesty. The words are light enough to pass as harmless to anyone not listening closely. Reese listens closely. She does not step back. She does not stiffen. Her posture remains open, grounded, unshaken. Years ago, she might have smiled politely, might have softened the moment to keep the peace. That version of her learned too late how often peace was code for silence. This Reese stands still, allowing the space between them to hold the weight of what he is saying without absorbing it. Gregory continues, mistaking her calm for invitation. He leans into memory, into jokes that assume shared understanding, into references meant to pull her backward. Each word reveals how little he has changed. He still believes familiarity entitles him to her attention. He still believes humor excuses disrespect. Reese lets the silence stretch. It is not passive. It is deliberate. Silence can be a boundary when used with intention. She has learned that responding to every provocation only gives power away. Some moments are better met with stillness. Some people reveal themselves fully when allowed to speak uninterrupted. Gregory laughs softly at his own words, expecting something in return. A smile, a correction, a spark. Instead, he finds nothing but her steady gaze. Her eyes do not harden. They do not soften either. They simply see him. The room hums around them. Glasses clink. Conversations drift. No one else seems to notice the shift happening in real time. Gregory senses it then, the first flicker of uncertainty. Reese is not playing the role he remembers. She's not reacting. She's not adjusting. She's not explaining. Her silence begins to unsettle him. He adds another remark, this one sharper, cloaked as teasing. It lands in the open space between them and falls flat. Reese breathes in slowly. She allows the moment to pass through her without lodging inside. The work she did to get here rises quietly to the surface. The night spent relearning her worth. The boundaries built brick by brick, the promise she made to herself to never again shrink for someone else's comfort. Gregory shifts his weight. The power dynamic he expected is not forming. His words are no longer leading the moment. Reese is. She finally moves, just enough to signal that the conversation has reached its end. Her expression remains composed, not cold, not warm. Finished. She does not correct him. She does not defend herself. She does not explain her growth to someone who never made space for it. Dignity does not argue. Gregory is left standing in the echo of his own assumptions, watching her turn away with unhurried grace. For the first time, he feels the imbalance, the absence of control, the truth pressing against his chest. Reese walks back toward her husband, the calm in her steps unbroken. The past has spoken. She has listened. And still, she remains standing. Gregory watches her go, unaware that the quiet he just dismissed has already shifted the ground beneath him. Gregory does not let it end where it should. He follows the moment the way he once followed certainty, convinced that persistence is the same as relevance. His voice lowers as if intimacy might soften what he is about to say, as if proximity can rewrite distance. The words arrive dressed as concern, but land as judgment. He questions the path Reese chose, the pace of her rise, the shape of her success. He wonders aloud whether she traded depth for comfort, independence for attachment, ambition for safety. Each sentence reaches for the woman he used to know. Reese feels the memory stir, not sharply, not painfully, more like the dull ache of an old scar pressed by accident. There was a time when words like these would have made her question herself, when she would have explained her decisions in careful paragraphs, hoping clarity might earn understanding, when she believed that being seen required being dissected. That time is over. She stands rooted in the present, her breath steady, her body relaxed. She allows the ache to pass through her without attaching meaning to it. Healing has taught her that pain does not always signal damage. Sometimes it is simply a reminder of distance traveled. Gregory keeps speaking. He speaks as if Reese's success needs context, as if her growth must be justified. He frames her peace as arrogance, her composure as detachment. He mistakes her refusal to engage for dismissal. What he cannot see is that she has already done the work he is trying to provoke. She remembers the nights she stayed up questioning herself, the mornings she chose courage over comfort. She remembers learning to trust her instincts after years of silencing them. She remembers rebuilding not just her career, but her relationship with herself. None of it happened quickly. None of it happened easily. This peace was earned. Reese lifts her chin slightly. The movement is small, but unmistakable. It is the posture of someone who no longer bends under misinterpretation. She meets Gregory's gaze without challenge or apology. There is no heat in her eyes, no plea, just clarity. He falters then, sensing that his words are not landing as intended. The power he once held in these moments is gone. He reaches for sharper language, hoping reaction will restore familiarity. It does not. Reese remains still. Calm has become her boundary. She understands now that some people only recognize growth when it mirrors their own. Gregory never grew beyond the version of her he once controlled. That is not her burden to carry. Around them, the room continues its gentle rhythm. Conversations flow. Laughter rises and falls. Life moves forward, indifferent to this quiet reckoning. Reese feels the strength in her body, the grounded presence of the life she built. She does not need to defend it. She lives it. Gregory finally pauses. The silence he once used to dominate now belongs to her. In it, he is forced to confront a truth he has avoided. Reese is not rejecting him. She has simply outgrown the conversation. She offers him nothing more than a measured look, one that acknowledges the past without reopening it. Then she turns away, not abruptly, not dramatically, with intention. As she walks back toward her husband, she feels no triumph, only relief. Old wounds do not reopen when they are no longer touched with fear. New strength does not announce itself. It moves quietly through the world, unchanged by the noise it leaves behind. Gregory watches her go, confusion settling where certainty once lived. He believed he could still reach her. He believed wrong. Reese does not look back. The past has said all it can say. He stands just beyond the center of the room where power usually gathers. Reese's husband does not claim space through sound or spectacle. He claims it through stillness. His posture is relaxed yet deliberate, feet grounded, shoulders easy, eyes alert. He watches the way Gregory approaches, the way his smile arrives before respect, the way familiarity is used like a tool rather than an offering. He listens. Years of boardrooms and negotiations have taught him how people reveal themselves when they think they are in control. Gregory speaks with the confidence of someone accustomed to being believed. The humor is practiced, the tone light enough to excuse what hides beneath it. Reese's husband hears the coded language immediately, not just condescension, not just entitlement, something older and sharper, a dismissal shaped by race and history and assumption, the kind that pretends to be casual so it can pass unchallenged. He watches Reese absorb none of it. That is when his respect deepens, not because she remains calm, but because he knows what it costs to do so. He understands restraint. He understands what it means to carry yourself with dignity in a world eager to misread you. Reese does not need rescuing. She has already done the hardest work on her own. His role is not to overshadow her strength, but to stand ready if the line is crossed. Timing matters. Gregory continues talking. His words drift closer to provocation. Reese's husband notices the subtle shift in Reese's breath. Not fear, not anger. Awareness. The moment is approaching. He does not move yet. Protection does not always announce itself. Sometimes it waits for truth to expose itself fully. He thinks of the first night he met Reese, the way she spoke about her life without bitterness, the way she described her past without asking for sympathy. He had known then that her strength was quiet and unyielding. Loving her had never felt like possession. It felt like alignment. Around them, the room carries on unaware. Music hums softly. Glass reflects light. People laugh in practiced rhythms. No one notices the pattern forming except the man watching it with clarity. He recognizes how Gregory circles, how he tests boundaries under the guise of humor, how he assumes silence equals permission. He prepares himself not with anger, but with resolve. Reese shifts slightly. Her body language signals completion. The conversation has reached its natural end. Gregory does not seem to realize it. That is when the decision settles in. Reese's husband will speak, not to dominate, not to perform, but to correct the narrative before it calcifies. He steps forward one measured pace, not into confrontation, but into presence. His voice, when it comes, will be steady, calm, unavoidable. He will not insult Gregory. He will not raise his tone. He will name the truth plainly. He will make it clear that Reese Moore is not a memory to be managed or a woman to be diminished. Until that moment arrives, he waits. Because protection that lasts is not loud, it is precise. It knows when silence serves and when it becomes surrender. He watches Gregory cross closer to the line. He watches Reese remain unshaken. He watches the room unknowingly hold its breath. The moment is almost here, and when he speaks, the world will understand something Gregory never did. Reese was never alone. Gregory mistakes patience for permission. He always has. The space Reese gives him becomes, in his mind, an invitation to go further. He leans into the moment with a familiarity that no longer belongs to him, his voice lowering as if intimacy might grant authority. The words that leave his mouth are careless but not accidental. They are sharpened by envy, polished by entitlement, delivered with the confidence of someone who believes consequences belong to other people. He questions her choices again, but this time the edge is unmistakable. He implies that her success arrived through alignment rather than effort, that her peace must be borrowed, that her life now is softer because someone else carries the weight. The remark lands heavy in the space between them, stripped of humor, exposed for what it is. The room does not react. Laughter continues somewhere behind them. A glass clinks. A conversation swells and fades, but the air tightens. Something has shifted from uncomfortable to unacceptable. Reese feels it clearly, the moment when silence stops being grace and starts becoming permission. She does not flinch. Her chin lifts slightly, not in defiance, but in certainty. Her eyes remain calm, steady, unafraid. Years ago, this kind of comment would have sent heat rushing to her face. She would have rushed to correct the narrative, to prove the work she did, the nights she survived, the brilliance she carried long before anyone chose to see it. She would have explained herself into exhaustion. She does none of that now. Stillness becomes her answer. She understands that defending herself here would give his words more weight than they deserve. She knows who she is. She knows how she built her life. She knows that dignity does not require rebuttal. Gregory misreads her silence. He always has. He takes one step further, sensing control slipping and trying to reclaim it with sharper language. His voice tightens. His tone loses its pretense. The mask cracks just enough for the truth to show. That is when it happens. Reese's husband moves. Not abruptly, not aggressively, just one step forward that changes the geometry of the room. His presence enters the space fully now, calm and undeniable. The conversations nearby falter without anyone knowing why. Something in the air commands attention. He does not raise his voice. He does not need to. His words arrive measured and precise, carrying the weight of someone who knows exactly what he is doing. He names the behavior without dramatics. He makes it clear that what was said crossed a line that cannot be uncrossed. He does not speak for Reese. He stands with her. Gregory freezes. This is not the reaction he anticipated. There is no chaos to exploit, no emotion to dismiss, just a mirror held steadily in front of him. Reese watches quietly, not with satisfaction, but with relief. The burden she carried for years has finally been set down. She is not being defended because she is weak. She is being defended because respect is non-negotiable. The room feels different now. Heavier, clearer. Gregory understands too late that he misjudged the moment. He misjudged the woman. He misjudged the man beside her. What he thought was familiarity was entitlement. What he thought was humor was harm. Reese does not speak. She does not need to. The line has been crossed, and for the first time, Gregory cannot talk his way back across it. The room seems to narrow as Reese's husband claims the space beside her. Not by force, by certainty. His presence settles like gravity, quiet and unavoidable. When he speaks, the tone is even, deliberate, shaped by a lifetime of knowing when words matter more than volume. He does not address Gregory with anger. That would be too easy, too generous. Instead, he speaks with clarity, and clarity is far more dangerous. He names what Reese has built, not vaguely, not defensively. He speaks of her brilliance as fact, her discipline as evidence, her success as something earned long before anyone attached themselves to it. He speaks of late nights, long seasons, hard choices made without applause. He speaks of integrity not as a compliment, but as a pattern. A way of moving through the world that does not bend under pressure or envy. Gregory tries to interrupt. He does not get the chance. The words continue, calm and precise, dismantling the assumptions one by one. The idea that Reese was shaped by anyone else's approval. The suggestion that her peace was borrowed. The implication that her life softened because someone else carried her weight. Each claim is addressed and set aside with ease. Not argued, corrected. Reese feels it then, not vindication, something deeper. The release of a tension she had carried unconsciously for years. She does not need this moment to define her, but it heals something old all the same. Her husband does not turn to her as he speaks. He does not need to. His words are not for performance, they are for truth. And then, only when it matters, he reveals who he is. Not with bravado, not with flourish. Just enough. The room shifts audibly. Heads turn, breath catches, recognition ripples outward as the weight of his name settles into the space. Gregory stiffens, the confidence drains from his posture. The hierarchy he assumed collapses in real time. But the name is not the point. Reese's husband makes that clear immediately. He states it plainly. His identity is not offered as threat or shield. It is context, a boundary, a line drawn once and for all. He is not here to dominate the room. He is here to make something unmistakable. Reese Moore is not available for dismissal. She's not a past version to be mocked or a success to be questioned. She is not a woman whose worth is open to debate. She is his partner by choice, his equal by design, his family by commitment. And no one in this room will speak about her as if she is anything less. The silence that follows is complete. Gregory does not respond. He cannot. Every path he might have taken has closed. Argument would only expose him further. Humor would ring hollow. Familiarity has been stripped of its illusion. Reese stands untouched by the moment's intensity. Her posture remains relaxed. Her eyes steady. She does not look at Gregory. She looks forward. Her husband finishes without spectacle. No threats. No final jab. Just truth set firmly into place, protection delivered with restraint. He steps back into her space, close enough for her to feel his presence without it overshadowing her own. His hand rests lightly at her back, not possessive, assured. The room exhales. Reese understands something then with perfect clarity. This defense was never about power. It was about alignment. About love that does not need to shout to be heard, about dignity that refuses to be negotiated. Gregory remains where he stands, smaller now, stripped of narrative and control. Reese Moore does not look back. She does not have to. The story has already changed. The shift is immediate and undeniable. It ripples outward from the space where truth has just been placed, touching every corner of the room without asking permission. Conversations falter. Laughter fades mid-breath. Even the music seems to soften, as if the air itself is listening. Gregory stands where he was, but everything about him has changed. His posture no longer fills space. His confidence folds inward, collapsing under the weight of being seen clearly. Not attacked, not embarrassed. Simply exposed. The version of himself he relied on no longer fits the moment. The mask he wore so comfortably slips, and there is nothing underneath to replace it. People begin to notice what they had not named before. The imbalance that existed long before this moment. The way Reese had been spoken to. The way familiarity was weaponized. The way humor was used to blur disrespect. What once passed unnoticed now feels heavy with clarity. Reese's husband does not move. He does not scan the room for reaction. He does not measure the impact of his words. He stands steady, rooted in purpose rather than performance. His presence is calm, unwavering, complete. A quiet fortress that does not need walls. Reese feels it then. Not triumph. Not validation. Something deeper and more unexpected. A settling. As if a final thread has been gently tied inside her chest. She did not know she was still carrying this piece. Did not realize how much energy it took to remain composed in moments like this. How often she had braced for impact without naming it. The tension leaves her body in a slow exhale. She understands now that healing does not always arrive alone. Sometimes it comes through being witnessed, through standing beside someone who recognizes harm without needing it explained, through love that refuses to let disrespect pass quietly. Gregory shifts his weight, uncertain. He looks around, searching for something familiar. Support, agreement, laughter. None arrives. The room has moved on without him. The power he thought he held has evaporated, replaced by a silence that reflects him back to himself. Reese does not look at him. She does not need to. The story has already rewritten itself. Her husband turns slightly toward her, his body angled not as a shield, but as an affirmation. His hand rests lightly against her back. The contact is grounding. Present. There is no urgency in the gesture, no message to send. It is simply where his hand belongs. The room breathes again. Someone nearby clears their throat. Another person resumes a conversation at a lower volume. Life begins to move forward, altered but intact. The moment does not shatter anything. It corrects something. Reese feels taller without trying, lighter without effort. The old reflex to minimize herself does not surface. It has nowhere to land anymore. She is not being elevated. She is being met. She thinks briefly of the woman she once was, the one who would have internalized the moment, the one who would have questioned herself afterward. She feels tenderness for her, gratitude for the work she did to become this version. Gregory remains still, a relic of a narrative that no longer applies. He has lost the room without a single argument being raised. Reese turns away calmly, her movement unhurried. Her husband follows at her side. They do not rush. They do not linger. They leave the moment exactly where it belongs. Behind them, the room returns to its rhythm. But something has changed, not loudly, permanently. Inside Reese, the final echo of the past grows quiet. She is whole, and everyone can feel it. Reese does not pause to collect anything from the moment. She does not wait for the room to settle or for Gregory to find words he should have learned long ago. She now understands that closure does not always come in the form of an apology. Sometimes it arrives as clarity. Sometimes it arrives when the past finally loosens its grip and reveals it no longer has teeth. Her hand finds her husband's without urgency. The contact is familiar and grounding. There is no victory in her posture, no satisfaction to be displayed, only calm, only the quiet knowledge that she owes nothing to what has already been outgrown. They move together through the room, neither hurried nor hesitant. The space opens naturally before them. People step aside without quite knowing why. Respect has a way of rearranging environments when it appears without spectacle. Reese feels the steadiness in her steps. Each one carries the weight of years spent choosing herself, years spent learning that peace is not passive and strength does not always raise its voice. She is not walking away from Gregory. She is walking toward her life. Behind them, Gregory remains where he stands. The silence that surrounds him is heavier than any confrontation could have been. His words replay without an audience, now without effect. He finally understands what he lost, and when he lost it. Not tonight. Not even at the end, but slowly over time as Reese grew into someone he never took the time to know. The realization lands late and lands hard. Reese does not turn back. She does not need to see his expression to know it carries regret. That story belongs to him now. It always did. As they step outside, the air feels different, cooler, lighter. The city hums with its usual rhythm, but Reese hears it clearly for the first time. Her breath deepens. Her shoulders settle. Something that had been quietly braced inside her releases at last. Her husband squeezes her hand once, a question without words. She answers by leaning slightly closer. This is enough. No reassurance needed, no processing required. They understand each other through a language built on trust rather than explanation. She thinks briefly of the woman she used to be, the one who would have replayed the moment in her head, the one who would have wondered if she should have said more or done less. That voice does not surface now. It has been replaced by something steadier, acceptance, completion. Gregory fades into the background where he belongs. Not erased, just irrelevant. His role in her story has ended without ceremony, without drama, without permission. Reese and her husband continue forward, steps aligned, energy matched. The world opens again. Conversations resume behind them. Laughter returns, but none of it touches her. The moment has already done its work. She realizes then that this is what wholeness feels like. Not loud, not triumphant, simply intact. Her husband turns slightly toward her as they reach the edge of the gathering. His presence is warm and unassuming. She meets his gaze and sees nothing but respect reflected back. No need to prove, no need to perform, just shared understanding. They walk on. Behind them, the past stands still. Ahead of them, everything continues. Reese Moore no longer carries the weight. She carries herself. And that is enough. Later, when the noise has thinned and the night has softened its grip, Reese finally allows herself to breathe. The room they step into holds quiet like a promise. Warm light rests against the walls. The world outside feels distant now, muted, no longer demanding anything from her. For the first time that evening, she exhales without restraint. Her husband watches her closely, not with concern but with understanding. He knows the weight moments like that can carry long after they end. He knows how survival teaches the body to stay alert even when danger is past. He moves toward her slowly, giving her space and presence in equal measure. She sits and lets the silence settle. The kind of silence that does not ask to be filled. Her shoulders drop. Her hands rest loosely in her lap. The armor she did not realize she was wearing loosens piece by piece. He kneels in front of her, his hands warm as they cradle hers. The contact is steady and grounding. He reminds her gently that love is not supposed to feel like endurance, that it is not meant to demand explanation or defense. Love is safety. Love is rest. Love is knowing you can stand still and remain chosen. The words do not rush her. They arrive slowly, the way truth often does when it is finally welcome. Reese closes her eyes and lets herself feel it. Not the confrontation, not the past, but the present. The quiet certainty of being held without condition. The absence of fear. The relief of not needing to brace for impact. She thinks of the years that shaped her. The moments when she learned to be strong because she had no other choice. The nights she questioned her worth in rooms that did not know how to hold her. The resilience she built alone. She honors that version of herself now without grief, without resentment, just gratitude. Her husband speaks again, softer this time. He tells her how he sees her, not as a survivor, but as a woman who chose herself when it mattered most. A woman who carries grace without shrinking and power without apology. He tells her he does not love her despite her strength, but because of it. Tears come then, quiet and unguarded. Not from pain, but from release. From the safety of knowing she does not have to be invincible anymore, that she is allowed to be held, allowed to be protected without being diminished. She opens her eyes and meets his gaze. There is no performance here, no narrative to manage. Just truth shared between two people who chose each other with intention. Reese realizes something profound in that moment. The past did not break her. It prepared her to recognize this love when it arrived. A love that does not ask her to prove her worth. A love that does not flinch when she stands tall. A love that understands her history without being threatened by it. She leans into him, resting her forehead against his. The world feels balanced again, not because someone saved her, but because someone stood beside her without conditions. This is how the story ends. Not with raised voices or final words, but with restoration. With a black woman fully seen, fully defended, fully cherished, a love that does not just protect her heart, a love that honors it. Before you go, carry this story with you. Somewhere, a woman is being dismissed in silence. Share this video and remind her that being overlooked is where power begins. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, drop a comment, and share it with a friend. And don't forget to subscribe to Black Stories Untold for more stories that uncover hidden struggles, celebrate strength, and remind us that every voice matters.